So I hope you're doing well. It's now just gone 9 o'clock on the 20th of the 3rd, 2020. Yeah, I've no idea what's going on. I went down to the shops earlier today, about 7 a.m. The shops opened, the shop opened at 6 a.m. Already an hour after it opened, no toilet rolls at all. All the stock had either been gone or the shop had none delivered. Not sure which. And either way, that's insane. Because generally speaking, by now the shops know that there's a rush on toilet rolls. So order at least double. I'd say at the moment order probably 5 or 6 times what you would normally order of that stock. And get rid of other shelves that people really aren't bothering with. Yeah, any shelves that are sort of, you go in shops now, you've got all the Easter stuff. Take the Easter eggs off the shelves, put toilet rolls there, put stuff there that people are panic buying. Therefore, making sure there's plenty of stock for the people that arrive a bit later and aren't able to get there so early, maybe. But there's stock there for them, so they don't have to panic buy. Because the problem is, what's happening is a situation. I went 7 o'clock today. I wanted to get something I wasn't able to get 2 days ago, some sausages. And there was some hand cream and washing stuff. It was a wise move to get some of that because you're going to come into contact with people or things. So when you get home, wash your hands before you start touching your face or stuff like that. I said it before, touch the dogs. I don't want them to get any virus because then if they get it, they're going to be more likely to pass it to me and to each other and to the puppies and etc. So complicated little situation, I suppose. But so just a bit of wisdom. Well, normally I'd get 1 packet of sausages because you get 20, and now I hardly ever have sausages. Hand wash, I've never really bothered with it before, so I would have got 1 maximum. But I've got 2 packets of sausages, even though I didn't really need 2, and I've got 2 lots of hand wash, again, even though I probably would never use 2. I just probably won't use it. But it's because you know in the back of your mind when you're there with the stuff that if you come again tomorrow, there won't be any. Because for days there was none. So, it means that all of us are getting more than what we necessarily need because of the panic buyers. Because the panic buyers are making us panic a little bit, even if we're not panicking as much. So, I mean, if I get 2 hand wash things, a panic buyer will get probably 10. So I'm not doing as bad as them, but it's still along the same lines. And again, the shops need to be wise to that. They need to understand that people are doing it. I mean, I was in the shop and one of the shop assistants says, "We didn't think that people would be doing this." Excuse me? Have you never watched one of these movies about the vampire or zombie attacks? The last days sort of scenario. What do people always do? Panic buy. They empty the shops in panic. It always happens whenever there's a scenario where there's something that could be harmful to everyone. They panic buy. They always do because they're afraid that other people will do so. And they think if they've got to stay home, so they don't get infected, then they've got to have all the stock there for themselves. Even though half of the stuff they panic buy will probably end up being either given to someone else or chucked away. But that's the ridiculous nature of human beings. You've even had situations, and it's fairly common now, where you could get to a supermarket. You could be lucky enough to get toilet rolls. You stick them in your basket, you're heading towards a till, and somebody comes along and takes them out of your trolley and walks off. I mean, that's insane. I mean, the problem with that is that's not even counted as theft. That doesn't actually count as theft because until you buy it, you don't own it. The shop still owns it, but you've only shown intention to buy it. and someone comes along and steals it at your trolley. It's ridiculous. And there's fights breaking out because of stuff like this. It's crazy. But as I say, the shops are responsible. I mean, most of these shops, certainly these big supermarkets, are making a huge amount of money because of these panic buyers, because they're selling stock quicker than they've ever done before. And it's a great deal of stock. It's not just one little bit. You go down the biscuit aisle, you can't find most of the normal biscuits you go for, like the basic ones. The ones that are just like normal biscuits without anything fancy. A lot of the fancier ones you can find. You can find those, but yeah, like even chocolate biscuits, you just can't find them. Yeah, they're completely sold out, day after day after day after day after day. I go and buy a squash because a lot of the time I drink squash. I'm trying not to drink as much tea or coffee, so I drink squash. Again, they've sold out. I went down a few days ago, didn't have any. Went down this morning, 7 o'clock, it didn't have any. Excuse me, what's going on? Shouldn't get annoyed. We shouldn't get annoyed at all with the shop assistants because they are not the ones who order. And this is something important to remember. They are not the ones that order the stock. They don't decide whether the shop orders more of this or more of that, or whether the shop orders stuff that they know they've sold out. That's up to people far higher up than them, and we have to understand that. So when we're dealing with these people, understand that they're just there doing a job. They're there trying to help us. That's their job. It's to try to help you. They're not trying to hinder you. They're trying to help. And even though, yes, it's a pain in the butt when you go into a shop and they haven't got stock and they haven't had the stock for a few days, it is annoying. You made all your way down to that shop and they still haven't got the stock. It is annoying, of course it is. But be annoyed with the right people, the heads of the shops. If you're going to be annoyed with anyone, don't be annoyed with the people that are just there, the lowest paid workers of that industry. They have no say. But that's the point. I left a message earlier to a Christian thing where they were going to have an open air meeting. But because the government in the UK is now saying that everything should basically close. No pubs open, no nightclubs, no gyms, no cinemas, no anything. Even when there was hardly anyone going, close the whole lot. That this organisation was then saying, well, maybe we shouldn't meet. And it's like, excuse me, who are you supposed to take your guidance from? The world or God? Who are you supposed to follow? The world or God? Are you a follower of the way, the truth, and the life? Or are you a follower of the world and decisions that are made by the world, by the governments of the world? That's the thing. I mean, I understand, that people are concerned, but again, you've got to look that, we're not supposed to be followers of fear or walking in fear. We're supposed to be walking in faith, using wisdom, absolutely. So, have the meeting outside. There's far less of a threat outside where there's lots of fresh air there. Where people are not breathing into each other's mouths. It's not like a pub or a club or even a gym where people are breathing quite closely to each other and the air is not really escaping, so the germs are not escaping. You're in fresh air. What are you worried about? But if you are worried, fine. Take a lot of hand wash stuff. Make sure if you shake hands with somebody, you wash your hands. It's not personal. It's just it's wisdom, So be wise. That's fine. Be wise in that sort of sense, but don't be fearful. Yeah, we're not supposed to be people walking according to fear. So let's get that sorted out. Let's realise who we're supposed to be following here. Even though, yeah, following God is not easy. Oh, for goodness sake, I had a big conversation with God earlier. It seems quite likely that DVLA were the people that took away my license, revoked it. The people that the report from the GP is going back to, it looks as if they have also been shut down now, and in which case I won't get my ability to drive again back for maybe, yeah, it's anyone's guess. I mean, certainly as long as this virus is a threat, when people meet in large groups, they won't be going back to work. And even when they go back to work, it's quite likely I'd have to have another report done with a GP, and it'd be sent off and redone, because they're going to lose under the mountain of paperwork they're going to get when they go back into the office. They won't be able to find mine. So in the end, I have to go to God on this and say to God, excuse me, I asked you to help. I asked you to smooth the way, and instead of smoothing the way, the doctor, who should have been filling the form in, missed out vital parts of the form that were obvious you need to fill in, sent the form off without what was being done. The form had to be sent back, so obviously somebody looked at the form, so it could have been dealt with at that point in time. But the form had to be sent back, and by the time it got back to them, they had to close because of this virus. Yeah, cheers, Lord. Really helpful. So now I've got a car I can't drive. I've got dodgy knees because I've played sport for so many years. So walking up and down hill to go to the shops and stuff is bringing back knee problems that I've had when driving wasn't. Driving was helping with that. Yeah, because I wasn't actually putting so much pressure on my knees. That cheers really great. Yeah, they've got Christian things going on I can't get to. Yeah, unless I rely on somebody else. Now, I could rely on somebody else. That all depends on whether they're going. It's annoying. And well, as I said, this is what I said to God. It was an interesting point. Basically, the tricky thing is, I said to God, I would say to people, you've got to live loving God, as in it's got to be lived out rather than just spoken. So don't tell people you love me. Don't tell me you love me, show me. Don't tell people you love God, but show it in the way you live. But then we look at God, and God is basically saying, I'm not going to show you that I love you. Not now. Yeah, what I'm doing is I'm telling you that 2,000 years ago, I showed you that I love you. And I said to God, okay, if we're doing things that way, then I could easily say to you, okay, 5 years ago, I showed you in some praise and worship that I did that I loved you. I showed you that I'm your child, so I don't need to bother anymore, do I? As I already showed you. In fact, it was 5 years ago. I can go back further, 20 years ago I showed you. Because if you're saying 2,000 years ago I showed you that I love you, but I so loved the world I gave my son, well, Lord, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I so loved you I gave my life. That was all I had. I gave that. So there you go. I'm done. I don't need to do any more. I don't need to make any efforts at all, do I? At all. And you can see why now the world has gone to crap, because Christians are basically living out the point that God is living. God is basically saying, I did this 2,000 years ago. Christians are saying, I gave my life to you 20 years ago, so I don't need to do any more. So that's why the world is in a situation where it's hopeless. Because God's sitting back and we're sitting back. Well, that's not good, is it? I said to God, I said, come on. I said, you are supposed to be a loving father. I said, this is the way a loving father treats his children. And when his children come to him, they say, right, I'm going to give you one of the most incompetent GPs, to deal with this form. He's going to fill it out. But the GP told me that he was going to send it out that night. It was sent out 4 days later. So it wasn't just a bit of an oopsie saying that night. It was a complete lie. Proved by the fact it was 4 days later. Then he didn't even fill the form in properly. I mean, I had a dodgy GP. The one before, I've just changed GPs. One before was bad. I was trying to take action against a local vet who come in to get one of my dogs neutered when she really didn't need to be. And it was all down to the head vet. And the head vet was one of these American people. All they wanted was to get money out of customers and clients and pet owners. And so when the nurse phoned up, the nurse exaggerated what the vet had said. It wasn't even the head vet, it was another vet who was doing the procedure. And the other vet told the nurse just to tell me that she might need to be neutered, because if she gets pregnant again, she might need another C-section. Well, the nurse phoned me up. She said, well, the vet has said you need to get her neutered because if she gets pregnant again, she could die. Now, I know that come from the head vet because that was her language. That's the way she would do things, because when the same dog had her first litter of puppies, I knew she was pregnant because the water broke. Next morning, she had no pups. That night, the vets had asked me to keep them informed, so I phoned them in the morning. And this head vet said I should bring them in. I said, well, there's no reason. She's not been pushing or anything, not been huffing and puffing. Oh, but if you don't bring her in, she and her pups could die. There was nothing wrong. She hadn't even been pushing. So the vet charged me for the appointment and for an injection to help her to have her pups. And she was going to have them anyway, when she was ready. This is the same head vet that was in charge at that time, that a nurse was copying. So I was trying to take action against them. The lawyer, who's supposed to be a Christian, and oh my lord, what a ridiculous lawyer this man is. He said I needed a report from my GP. So, right, okay. He said, well, it's going to cost you 150 quid. You have to pay 150 pounds to your GP, and here's a report. Right, okay. So eventually I said, fine, I'll do that then. So I went in, had a meeting with the GP, told the GP what the situation was with regard to the vets and how that had, caused me a lot of irritation over the years, especially the fact that, this dog Lucy was always a good mum, and even when other dogs, other than females, have their pups, Lucy takes care of the pups. She helps them to do their pee and poo and their babies, and if the puppy's on the floor in here, if I bring them in here to clean the area where they sleep out, she would lay by them to make sure then the other dogs go anywhere near them. So she's a good mum. And seeing that and realizing that these people stopped her from having pups, she was only 3 years old when they did this, so she had another possible 5 years of having pups. So of course, whenever any of my other dogs had a pup, it brought back the fact that these vets did this to her. So I suppose I just made all this clear to the GP, and his report never mentioned this, just mentioned the fact. Basically, his report said, I don't know why my patient is concerned because he's got other dogs that are having puppies anyway. I mean, his report was completely useless. And my lawyer just said, yeah, we can't use it. It's terrible. Something needs to be done about it. So I said, okay, I said, you'll need to speak to him as you requested it. He said, all right. But then he told the GP it was a great report. He said there was no worries, nothing, didn't need to do anything about it, it was fine. So I was trying to get the GP to do something about it. He wouldn't. So I put online the fact that this GP charged me £150 to do a report. I paid for it. I'm the patient, so therefore, as I paid for it, it was my report. And he wouldn't change any of the report, even the stuff that was completely wrong, because there was stuff in it that was completely wrong. And of course, because I put that on their Facebook page, they contacted me and said, you can't be our patient anymore. I said, excuse me, you stole money from me, and I'm the one in the wrong because I just told people that you stole money from me. So, yeah, I've gone from one bad GP to another. But the point I'm making is this is the God that loves us. And then says, yeah, don't expect me to do anything because I'm just resting on the fact that I did that 2,000 years ago. And I said to God, I said, excuse me, Lord, I said, it's understandable for people to say, yeah, but you did that for characters in a book. Because really, when you look at it, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Philip, Bartholomew, Mary, etc., they are characters in a book in the Bible, but they're characters in the Bible. We know them as characters. We call them characters. Yeah. So I said to God, I said, I said that was done for characters in a book. I said, you're saying that includes all of us. I said, but that's something that they experienced. Yeah, they experienced the love of the Lord, the practicality, the living out of that love. And I said, what we've experienced really is the word. So like me saying, yeah, I love you, but never have any intention of actually showing it. Then my point when I was speaking to God is saying, come on, Lord, you've got to step up as well as we've got to step up. You've got to step up, and if you're allowing things to happen for a reason, you have to help us to understand what reason it is. Why you're allowing these things. Because if it's for us to learn or grow or develop in some way, you're going to help us to see that and to learn, grow, and develop. Whereas what happens quite a lot is that we go through the same stuff over and over again. We're expected to learn, even though we're not getting any clear guidance as to why these things are happening. I mean, I know I said, when God speaks to you, he speaks to you quietly. He's not going to shout at you. But I'll tell you now, when we do our praise and worship, don't we sing louder sometimes? Don't we sing loud enough so that God can hear us? We don't have to. We don't have to sing loudly at all, but we do. Because it's passion, it's love. So when God speaks to us, why does he always speak to us so softly, so quietly? It's one of those things that you just gotta. It's part of the crap of existing in a noisy world. Now maybe it's because we live in a noisy world that we just can't hear when we need to hear. I don't know. What I do know is I understand completely how easy it is for Christians to just walk away from Christianity. I understand how easy it is for them to do that. I've been very close to doing it myself, and so I understand completely how easy it is to do that. If you're praying to a God who, generally speaking, not all the time, but generally speaking, either doesn't answer or it's not evident that he's answered, if that is your general experience as a Christian, then you've got to say it's completely understandable for that Christian to walk away. Yeah, Not easy. It is not easy. We're supposed to be in the world but not of it. I say that's not easy because we are in the world, and we need a God who's going to be a lot more proactive with his people. A lot more proactive. So it's difficult. It is. It's up to us. Yeah. Somehow we've got to. I don't even know. I don't know because if I was going to say we've got to figure this out. Well, we can't. We can't figure this out. Yeah, we have to hope that the Holy Spirit will teach us what we need to know. But sometimes, yeah, sometimes it feels as if what George Michael said in Praying for Time was the opposite. Because in that song he says, when God turned his back, God let his children out to play. When he's turned his back, all the children left out the back door. It seems like God let his children out to play. When his children looked back, God was gone. That's what it seems like. At times, that is what it seems like. Well, that's because of the fact that we're in this place on earth. Um, God is in heaven, but not the heaven that we see. He's in the third heaven. So you've got the heaven that we see, then you've got hell above that, and then you've got God and that heaven above that. So that's a long way. And sometimes the darkness can envelop us, or it can seem to. But that's all part of normal Christianity. That's part of normal Christian life. Being here, left on an earth that is not exactly full of light for us. Because once you give your life to God, you are different. At least if you're going to get to a point where you're going to get to the end, you have to be different. And so therefore, because you are different, the world will always feel uncomfortable. You won't feel comfortable in it. Which is why you need good Christians around you. To have people that you feel comfortable around. Because even if these people are challenging you, that challenging is comfortable. Because that's what it should be. You should be challenged to be better. You should be challenged to be more faithful and more a person of faith. But the problem is when we haven't got that and when we're in the world, it can seem well, it's just painful to be around because it's not where we should be. See, when you get saved, you don't belong on earth anymore. You actually belong in heaven. But we're left on earth to serve God. So when we're not serving God, it's just everything is just wrong. Nothing feels right at all because I'm no longer part of this world. But because I'm not serving God at the moment, because God isn't flowing through me in an incredible way, I'm not really in heaven. So I'm not on earth, I'm not in heaven. Sort of in between the two places, really. So, and it's not paradise because in between earth and heaven, we understood that to be paradise. But Christian existence isn't paradise for most people. It's somewhere in between heaven and earth, but in this position where you're being squeezed by both, but you're not either. So both is uncomfortable. And at the moment, for a lot of people, both is uncomfortable. And so that's why, as I say, it is understandable when people, try and take notice of what the world is saying fear-wise and walk in that, because it's not easy relying upon God. Because when you ask God for help or for guidance, generally speaking, what you get isn't that. Yeah. I mean, you always get that bittersweet situation where people say, "Oh, when I was asking God previously when I was homeless for a place to live, people say, well, you've got a place to live. The fact it's tiny, I mean, really flipping tiny. The fact it's depressing, you've got a place to live. Yeah, but the fact that I had a better place that I could have moved to, if the council or the area I was with didn't muck that one up, and that was a 2-bedroom house. Now I'm in a flat, which is a basement flat with a property above, and as I say, you've got your lounge bedroom in one room, and this room is smaller than bedrooms I've had in other properties. And it's lounge and bedroom. And you've got a tiny bathroom stroke shower. The shower they've actually cut down because of the height of the flat. I mean, I'm about 5'7", and I can just put my hand up and touch the ceiling. Now, yes, I have somewhere to live, but is this anywhere near the place that I could have had? Yeah, if God was working on the case, wouldn't I have been in a better place than this? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's quite possible that this place suited the depressive state I was in at the time. In fact, God had told me only previously just to that I've been fighting depression, so depression come fully in. Maybe this flat suited that perfectly, and now the depression out fully. It then may allow God to deal with it. I don't know. But when you look at things like that, it's just, oh, for goodness sake, it's just, continuation. I said to God with regards to driving, I said, no, come on. I said, I've only just passed my driving test, so I can drive myself. That was in October. We're now in March, 20th of March, so that was beginning of October that happened. So it's only a few months ago. It wasn't that long ago at all. No, I've only just got a car that's suitable for the dogs. And that was about 3 weeks before they revoked my license. So I've barely been out of the thing. I filled it up with petrol just before they did that, or diesel. And there you go, it's sitting out there, I can't use it. And it looks as if it could be anything from 2 months, maybe 6 months, before I can actually drive my car again. I mean, it's a massive piss take. I mean, when you think of the fact that, I was physically, mentally, emotionally, and sexually abused as a child. I went through tons of crap as an adult. And now, here we go. As soon as you think things might start to improve, because I've got a car, I'm able to drive, bang, you got no bloody license now. Great. All because of incompetence of GPs. But you ask God to help, and then we get this bloody virus coming in just at the same time. So, oh, Jesus. Oh, come on. A bit of a blessing would be nice. Rather than this continual getting dragged through shit, basically. It gets annoying after a while. You get up, you try and brush yourself off, but then you're back down in this shit again. It's like, oh, for goodness sake. As I say, especially at a time when you need to be able to travel around, because, even to get out of this place, because this place can be quite frustrating. I've got these dogs here, they need to get out. if I could drive my car, I could get out. I could say, right, I'll get out way into the country where I'm not going to be bumping into people. These can have a lovely run. Yeah, because like last night, we took mine out, a friend in his area, we just walked them down to the local park. But then every now and again, we come across people with dogs. Now, when we come across people with dogs, the mother of these pups that are outside, she has an issue with other dogs. She'll often, go barking at them. Partly it's down to play. She wants to play chase with them, and sometimes it's a bit of an aggressive thing. So I have to pull all of mine over to one area so that those dogs can come past, and then we can go out again. Yeah, I'd rather go somewhere in the country and give them a long run during the day, and then at night they can just have a little play indoors before bed, sorted. Can't do that because I can't get in the car. I had a lovely car before, a Civic, which was a car that I passed my test in, which was a lovely car, beautiful car. And if I'd realised that I wouldn't be able to take the dogs out, I would have kept that bloody car because it was a good car. It was a really good car. It was really the most perfect car I could have, really, because it was so giving as a car. The clutch was perfect. Everything about it was spot on. Everything was in its right position, like this car I've got now. To go in reverse, you've got to lift it up and move it over and all that stupidity. Whereas in the Civic, it was just quite simple: move over into reverse position, jump. There you go. It was a lovely car. It was just a bit too small to get all the dogs in the boot. So, once I passed my tests and I had enough money, I thought, right, let's get a bigger car, get an X-Trail that can get all the dogs in it. The X-Trail is better in many ways, but finicky in others. But again, it's sat there. I can't drive it. So it's quite likely by the time it needs its new MOT, I wouldn't have driven the car again. So paying a year's insurance on a car that I can't drive. It's very expensive, the insurance as well. Of course, because I only just passed my test, the insurance went up and rocketed to a really high amount, and that was painful. So that's just an annoyance. Every time I go out, I see a car sitting there and I've got to walk downtown. I've got to take the dogs down to a local park when I could have been taking them out properly. It's just a continual annoyance. And now it's quite likely that it could be a long time before I get the right to drive again. Again, it's all about being honest. It's like, I'm honest with the people I need to be honest with. I could have just said, when my GP said, you should tell the DVLA about that. What I could have just done, and what would have been wise to a certain degree, would find out, what the DVLA are looking for with regards to sleep apnea. What type of sleep apnea they need to be notified of. And then, of course, I don't have that, so I didn't need to notify them. But you trust the process. You do. You trust the process. You trust the GPs. You trust the DVLA that are not just going to revoke your license. It just so happened that Amber's pups were born on the day that I had the original appointment, and the reason why they revoked the license. So it's like, again, that her pups could have been born any day around that time, but it's right on that day, and there was a problem. The night when she started having her pups, I was having to phone at the vet to say I might need to get someone over because it was about between the second pup and the third, about 3 hours. As this is her third litter, that was a long time. It seemed it's quite likely that there was a puppy that was stuck. So I was up quite late and I was dealing with her first thing in the morning, making sure that I got her out of her area, clean the area so I could put the pups back into a dry space. Of course, during the night she'd been having the pups. So every time she birthed a pup, it was the mat that was down there was covered in blood and after birth and all that. every time. So it was 7 times. So that was a bit of a mess. And the pups were soaking wet because she'd be washing them all night. So it's like, right, get them out, get them into the lounge for a little while, so I can dry the area out, take the mat out, put a new bit of mat in there. And because of that, I forgot the appointment. So, yeah. Had I not forgot the appointment, had I gone to the appointment, my license probably wouldn't have been revoked in the first place. Although, well, it may have been because if the GP has still forgotten to put down stuff on the report, they may have revoked it because of that. I don't know. Oh, I don't know. I'll say, we don't know. Life can be a pain in the butt at times. So they say about sod's law. Well, I'd love to meet that sod and give him a kick up the bloody arse. He's a pain in the butt, that sod. Him and his laws. Yeah. Well, there you go. As I say, with regards to all this virus and stuff, it is, to me, ridiculous where people who are not ill are taking 2 weeks off to self-isolate. Because most likely when they go back to work, whatever time they do, if they go back to work after the 2 weeks, they're probably going to get infected. So stay at work. If you're not infected, then don't send people home that aren't infected. Don't close down places without the need to do so, because all these places need to make money. They don't just close, they go out of business if they don't make money. And people, if they're not making money, can't pay the rent. They can't pay the mortgage. They have massive problems because of that. So if you're not infected, you shouldn't be doing it. Certainly. I mean, if you're in a situation where your business or your employer says, take 2 weeks off, paid, we pay it. We won't count it as holiday, we just pay it. Then go for that. Take the 2 weeks off. It's fine. Count it as a blessing. But otherwise, if you're not sick, you shouldn't be taking the time off, really. Because of the fact that, quite likely, if you're taking the time off, when you go back, you're going to probably catch it anyway and need to take another 2 weeks off. Now, if you're taking 2 weeks off and not getting paid for it, you have to take a month off and not get paid for it. You're in big trouble now. So be wise. I mean, we don't know for a certainty whether, if you've had it, you can re-catch it quickly. We don't know that. Because it's quite likely you can't. It's quite possible that your body would, have whatever it needs to fight it off after fighting it off in the first place. So, being led by fear, I'm not sure if that's a good move. I think that's probably going to make sure that this situation prolongs. I understand what the government's saying. Certainly the British government is saying if so many people get infected at one time, then that makes sure that the NHS can't control the situation and that they won't have enough ventilators. So therefore, they're saying to people it's best to spread it out. The problem with spreading it out is it means that everything has to be shut off for far longer. So that's going to cause other problems that are going to be just as big as maybe a slight shortage of ventilators for a while. As I say, the best way to do it is live in faith and not in fear. So try and live in faith, even though living in faith is difficult at times, granted. And I would say faith isn't the case of believing in something you can't see. It's more than often believing in something against all odds. As in, you look at the situation and everything is screaming at you saying, you're stupid for living in faith, but you're still living in faith. That to me is what faith really is. That's what faith in God is, because we have certainly over the last 20 years had very little evidence that God exists. Very little evidence at all. And that's not good. That needs to improve. Because if it's hard for us to see, then it's even harder for those who don't believe to see. So stay honest, folks. Stay real and stay strong. Speak to you soon. God bless. Bye bye.